we go. It's episode 126 here on Thursday, May 30th. How is everybody doing? It's Puck, pucksports.com. Appreciate you watching here on YouTube and, of course, listening on Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. As I mentioned yesterday, also there on YouTube Music. If you don't have YouTube Music, download that today. Appreciate always the support, as always, wherever you're getting this content. It's much appreciated. Please leave a comment. Please like. Please subscribe. All of it works. All of it counts. I get a lot of emails from people saying, hey, what's the best way to kind of support you, watch, or listen? All of it, it's all the same. So it doesn't matter how you do it, just as long as you are doing it. You can always feedback, leave a comment. You can email me, puck@pucksports.com. And, of course, check out the website there as well, pucksports.com. New content going up there all the time. There's, that's where all the shows are at. It tells you all the different platforms you can see. There's a new blog up there where we'll post up videos. And then, of course, on all of their social media channels, Instagram and Facebook, just search Puck 2040 on both. Actually, you know what? I think Facebook is Puck Sports. I'll probably change that. But I'm on Facebook, also on Instagram. We'll post up content over there as well, including our interview that we did yesterday or 2 days ago with the great Ty France. We did a reunion interview with Ty France. Less awkward this time around. Ty's great. He's a good sport. I just had a new baby, so it was great to catch up with him, kind of reenact and relive that, which was a horrifying interview, and not because of Ty, but because of this guy. All right, there was nothing that Ty did wrong. It was all me. It was all me and Jim. All right, coming up on today's show quickly, as always, we'll recap the Mariners. Going to give you a soundbite from Ryan Divishs yesterday talking about the Mariners. I thought Divishs yesterday was just so damn good. And he is. And you all are blessed to have this guy covering the Seattle Mariners for the Seattle Times because he's so good at what he does. He just has the right amount of I don't give a you-know-what attitude with him. But he's just a great reporter, and he tells it like it is. And he had a great thought or two on what they should do at the trade deadline. So we'll cover that. A question about the M's on TV. I think the Seattle Times is going to be working on something with that pretty soon here. NCAA is going to have a new path of revenue that we'll touch on. And the police officer that arrested Scotty Scheffler has released a statement. Just an idiot. And as always, we will finish with Hey, What the Puck. Also, a reminder, of course, today is Thursday. That's big NFL day for us. So we'll have Mike Garofolo, the NFL Network. And also we will have Rob Staten from SeahawksDraftBlog.com. Well, they did it again last night. It is amazing, guys, how they keep winning games. They, in this series so far, in which they have won the first 3 games against Houston, and they will look for the sweep today. By the way, they've kind of kicked Houston's ass since the playoffs, which is, I mean, they've dominated them, really. I want to say they're 14-5. I think since that time that Houston ended up sweeping them a few years ago. But in the first 3 games so far of the series, they have scored a total of 9 runs and have had 17 hits, and they've won all 3. Like that just shouldn't be possible. It really, really shouldn't. And last night was another game. They win it in 10 innings. J.P. Crawford with the sac fly. They win the game 2-1. By the way, that's another cover on the under. We are red hot on the BetM's Under Summer Tour, which continues. DraftKings Sportsbook app is where you can find all the lines. But God, just like I'm going to keep saying it, they are maddening, but they are wildly entertaining at the same time. But they just find ways to win. And at the end of the day, yes, we'll repeat it all the time. They're flawed, and you can poke holes in them left and right. But they're 31-26. I mean, they're gonna probably sweep the Astros today. And I don't think officially bury the Astros, because I don't think you can officially ever kind of bury this that baseball team just because of the success that they have had. But you can certainly put a lot of room between you and Houston. 11-4 in one-run games, which is impressive. Which is also impressive, they won a game yesterday in which they struck out 15 times. This is what I'm talking about with these guys. Yeah, I mean they drive you fucking crazy the way they play. But at the end of it, they keep winning somehow, some way. And will that run out luck or whatever you want to call it? Maybe it will, but it hasn't run out yet. And they just keep finding different ways at the end of the day to go through that handshake line and all congratulate each other. Bullpen has been great of late. Has been locked down, and it was last night. Thornton was just on point last night, striking out 3. Spire good, Voth good, Munoz, Bowman, who they just got in that trade with Baltimore. 4 innings, 1 hit. They struck out 6. The most important thing, they didn't walk a single batter, which was just awesome. And so they've been great. Kirby was a nice bounce back for Kirby. The 8 strikeouts there in the 6 innings. He gave up 6 hits. They all were singles. The 6th inning, which was his last inning, he gets a little bit of trouble there with runners on the corner with 1 out, but he ends up getting Alex Bregman to strike out. Then he gets Jake Myers there to ground out. So nice response there from George Kirby. Great pitching matchup, for Kirby, who's looked up to Justin Verlander. To see those two go at it, all night long was impressive and fun. Probably fun for Kirby as well, I would imagine, because Kirby, having, looked up to Justin Verlander, probably patterns a little bit of his game after Verlander. And then it was cool to hear Verlander talk about Kirby after the game, just saying, hey, man, I knew how tough it was going to be today because of the other guy that's pitching. If I don't have it locked down, paraphrasing here, then, we're going to be in trouble. So just an all-around typical Mariners win again. Don't really do much of anything. And then when the game's on the line, go to extra innings, you find a different way to win, a different hero. JP was last night. Dom Canzone provided the home run, provided also the at-bat to push the runner over to third, so they could end up getting that victory yesterday, which was, just a pivotal play. And then the highlight of the night was JP Crawford's dogs, which his wife ended up recording and showing everybody on social media. If you haven't seen it, I actually put it up at pucksports.com onto the blog page. You can go and check it out there. But it's unbelievable. It's why dogs really are the best. They are better than us. And his dogs are freaking out. He's got, I think, 2 Huskies, and they're just freaking out because they just saw Dad on the TV with the game-winning hit. So that was pretty cool. I also thought what was pretty cool yesterday, and it's something that we've talked about, I think with Divishs, and we'll bring it up with Ryan on Friday again, is this idea with Mitch Garver. Would they ever think about catching Mitch Garver? Here's a guy that the transition for these guys when they have never been a designated hitter is very, very difficult. You wouldn't think it to be difficult, right? Here's all you're going to do. All you're going to do is hit. But for a lot of these guys, it's just hard. It's hard to go from, being an everyday player. I mean, in Garver's case, he was not an everyday player. But the point being, when you do play, you're going to hit and you're going to play in the field. But for Mitch Garver, he was going to a role in which all I'm going to do is hit. There's so much downtime that these guys have between at-bats that I think all you think about mentally is just, well, your next at-bat. What am I doing wrong? I need to do this. I need to do that. And when you are an everyday player or you're playing in the field, you become distracted for that time that you're out there. And you're not thinking about your at-bats. I think Edgar has mentioned it many times, and even Nelson Cruz, they had to think of things to do in between at-bats, whether it's going down stairs and taking extra swings, looking at video, keep themselves busy rather than just sit on the bench. And I don't know what Garver has been doing or not doing, during his at-bats. Maybe he's doing exactly what Edgar said, or what Nelson Cruz was able to do. But it just hasn't worked out for him this year. Hitting just hasn't been good. He's been a major disappointment. Now, he didn't do anything last night by catching him, but I also do think that, hey, maybe gets him into more of a comfortable position, that catching him a little bit more, maybe gets his bat turned around. Because I think, as Service talked about last night, is that when you go from a guy that is used to playing a position than not playing one, just being a hitter, you don't know how guys are going to react. And perhaps he hasn't reacted in the best way to kind of manage his time, and giving him an opportunity to catch maybe relaxes him a bit, gets him back in the groove as a hitter. Because we all know inside there's a very talented hitter in Mitch Garver. The fact that it just hasn't come yet has been disappointing. Doesn't mean it won't. He certainly can get hot in the summer and turn it around, and maybe that will be the case. But I like him catching a little bit more. Zavala to me has been a disaster all year. I don't care what anybody says. He has not been good on anything. And yeah, he's gotten a little bit better. Okay, but my God, his a little bit better is still bad. So be interesting to see what they do with that. Because if they do want to catch Garver more, were they going to keep 3 of them? I mean, I guess you would have to keep Zavala too. But yeah, I'd like to see Garver maybe catch a little bit more. So Ryan Divish on the show yesterday. Sometimes I have to remember what day it is. You ever get that? You ever forget what day it is? I forget what day it is all the time. We were talking just a normal Mariners conversation. And we both agreed, and Divish brought it up, this point that at that point they were 30-26, but this is it's a good baseball team. How much damage can they do in the postseason? I don't know. They're kind of built for the postseason, right? But what they have done the last few years when they have been in a position to make a move at the deadline, what have they done? They haven't added to the team, right? They've taken away from the team. And this is the year they must add to the baseball team, as Divish explained yesterday on the podcast.
I mean, like Haniger and Dylan Moore lived through the Kendall Graveman trade, and they lived through they were there for that, and and so to me, and also it's not just the players that you've been here for a while; it's the players that you want to keep here for a while. Like, how do you tell Cal Raleigh or Logan Gilbert or George Kirby, hey, we care about winning, we want to extend you because we think you're a part of a nucleus to win a World Series, when you don't do anything when you have the moment? That's the thing, is like this window that they have right now, again, is really good, and they're leading the division, early. And I remember last year they had let it late, but you felt like they didn't give that team enough help last year to reward them for the August, and because all the stuff happened after August, and it was kind of, I think sometimes the mindset was, "F you, we'll do it ourselves. If you're not going to help us, we'll do it ourselves."
And that's kind of the point we've made. We've made a lot with these guys when it comes to the deadline, and Divish is spot on. I mean, he's got a pulse of that locker room, a pulse of that clubhouse. That the last few years, when they have made moves that have taken talented players away from their team and have not truly added to the team, other than Castillo, I think the players have reacted in a way of like, well, F off, man. Like, what are we doing here? And that's why this year's got to be different for the front office, and it's got to be different for ownership, is that they've got to look at this group. And yes, they're flawed. And yes, maybe they're playing over their heads to a degree. But right now they're in first place. And as we saw, or at least I saw Stanton down in the clubhouse the other day when I went to the Mariners game, he himself, who is, the self-proclaimed, great fan, and I'm not doubting that he is, but it is time for this ownership group, and it is time for Dipoto, and maybe Dipoto does want to do this, but has been stopped maybe in his tracks by ownership. But it is time for ownership to prove it, not to the fans, but to the players. Prove it to the players that you're serious about going out and trying to win a championship. because I think in the last few years, I think we all would agree that it just doesn't seem like they've wanted to truly go out and do everything that they possibly can to go win a championship. And as we all know, once you get in there, the hell, who knows what's going to happen? Injuries could pop up. They could get hot with their pitchers, like a goalie gets hot in hockey, and then all of a sudden just mow through everyone. I mean, they've got a bevy of pitchers and starters, and think about the guys that they probably wouldn't even use. I mean, they get into a series, they're not going to use Brian Wu as a starter. Look how good Brian Wu has been. Can you imagine Brian Wu coming out of the bullpen in the playoffs? Jesus, it'd be phenomenal. I mean, to that degree, what would you do with Bryce Miller? You going to use Bryce Miller in it? I mean, could you get away with just using three, just using Kirby and Gilbert and Castillo? So, yeah, I just, again, when they get close to this deadline and even before the deadline, and I know it's harder than ever because so many more teams are in it, they need to be ultra aggressive. We keep bringing up Pete Alonso's name all the time. The Mets they're done. Like, they're over. Like, the whole thing with the pitcher yesterday throwing a hissy fit, throwing his glove into the stands, they're over. The Mets are toast. They need to pounce right now. If they want someone like Pete Alonso, they need to do it now. And if it costs you Harry Ford and Hancock, so be it. Just you cannot just be concerned about losing prospects. Because if Pete Alonso pushes you over the edge, you are not going to care at all what Harry Ford does in the future. So I think for this team now, there's been a lot of talk about windows and a lot of talk about this is the year, we are in our championship time frame. Well, it's now time to prove it because you didn't prove it in the offseason. And now the team that you put together somehow, some way is 5 games over 500. And it's probably even surprised you to a degree, the individuals that put the team together. Now it's time. Now it's time to push your chips all in. It was time last year, and it was time the year before, and you didn't do it. Now is the time to push it all in. I mentioned the Ty France interview. Yes, the reunion. It's up at Facebook and Instagram. Facebook, Puck Sports, Instagram, Puck 2040. Go check it out. It's a short and sweet one. We reminisce about the infamous interview a few years ago on the radio show about Caddyshack and such. We talk about being a new dad, but go check it out on the other social media channels. We'll put up more content up there as well. We usually put up some clips, from the show, video clips, from our guests, from the Daily Puck Drop. So you can always check it up there at Instagram, Puck 2040, and Facebook, Puck Sports. NCAA, I actually like this, and I'm actually surprised it took this long to actually get here with this. The NCAA is going to allow on-field corporate partnerships, corporate sponsorships, and like patches on jerseys, which they think would fetch about $5 million with patches on jerseys. And they're also thinking about putting logos on the field, right? Which they think about $1 million that they would fetch. I'm actually surprised they haven't done this already. And what's the holdup? We should have been doing this a long time ago to put sponsorships like on jerseys or on the fields. Like, why have we waited? Do it all everywhere. Put like a NASCAR. Just put them all over the jerseys, for crying out loud. Who cares? We do it for bowl games. So if we do it for bowl games, why are we not doing it for just regular season games? And for a school like Washington State, we could use the money. So I don't know can we put like Cella's on there or I don't know, Busch Light or the new Cougar beer. All right. The old Crimson Lager, put that on there. Great job. Great idea there by the Cougs to do that one. And we've got some, speaking of the Cougar NIL and the old Crimson Lager, now that I bring that up, we do have, not quite yet, but we're getting close to announcing something very cool with the Cougar Collective and Old Crimson Lager. So I hope to have that announcement coming up shortly. But yeah, long overdue. I don't see any issue with this at all. It just shows you how much college athletics is changing, right? It is so different now, and it's gonna change the way people care about it a little bit more. I don't know how it's so much gonna affect me, but you're seeing more and more of it just turning into professional sports, and it's probably always been like professional sports anyway, so it's probably long overdue. But it's crazy to see how much in the last like year, how much college athletics has changed because things that you never, ever, ever could do now is just like, well, it's fine. I mean, we're going to pass something in June where the schools now are just going to be able to work with the collectives, and the schools are just going to end up being able to just sit there and pay the players now directly. Can you imagine that? Just, I mean, how much hot water people used to get in. Reggie Bush at USC, UNLV, what they were doing under Tarkanian, and now it's just all legal, all of it. There are no punishments anymore. The update on the Scotty Scheffler uh, arrest at the PGA Championship. The Louisville police officer who goes by the name like he has some like alternate name, Brian Gillis, released a statement yesterday after charges were dropped against Scheffler, which after the video came out from like the light pole showing exactly what happened, it was just a matter of time that those charges were going to be dropped, and for good reason. They should have been dropped like immediately. Now, not to say that Scotty Scheffler is not without criticism here. I mean, it's whether it's a security guard or an officer, someone told you to stop. They clearly were someone in charge, and they told you to stop and you didn't, and you kept going. So he is to blame to a degree. Should he have been arrested? No, but he shouldn't be like, I didn't do anything wrong. I mean, if it's a security guard, you should stop. I mean, it's just the way it is. He was obviously some type of law enforcement or something. I mean, there was a reason he was standing out in the street with a yellow jacket on. But Gillis released a statement today after the charges were dropped, and it's kind of a lengthy one, and thanking Scotty Scheffler, but wants to make sure that I think it was his lawyer that may have called his character into question. So Gillis, the officer, kind of questioned that, but for the most part, he just said, "Hey, it was an unfortunate situation." And did point out, and rightfully so, that, hey, somebody lost their life in this. And so that really should be the story here. And I'm kind of sorry that our incident turned into the story. And then I hope we can move on. But then at the end of the statement, after he had signed it, he goes, P.S. He really wrote this in the statement. It says, P.S. Yes, the department has us buying freaking $80 pants. Remember, because his $80 pants were ruined beyond repair. To those concerned, they were indeed ruined. But Scotty, it's all good. I've never would have guessed I'd have the most famous pair of pants in the country for a few weeks because of this. So our national nightmare is over with Brian Gillis, the Louisville police officer who arrested Scotty Scheffler, and his pants. There should be a GoFundMe page for the pants. And I'm already thinking about a Halloween costume next year going as Brian Gillis's pants. Would anybody get it? I don't know. All right, we'll wrap it up here with Hey, What the Puck. I should mention again, it's our NFL show today. So we've got Mike Garafolo coming up. And then we also have Rob Staten from SeahawksDraftBlog.com. Garafolo cover all things in NFL as we always do. Rob, we're going to kind of do a somewhat deep dive into what his expectations are for Ryan Grubb's offense this year and kind of the tools that he has and, the quarterback, the working relationship with Geno Smith. And then also, because he had not heard it yet, and we were off technically on Monday, but we had our special Monday show, Memorial Day show, which included our interview with Nolan Teasley. I'm going to play in that soundbite talking about Jamal Adams. Rob cannot stand. Rob is probably the greatest hater of Jamal Adams that we have in the world. So we'll play it for him. And I want to see how much, if you can see on the video or hear it in his voice, how much his blood will boil with the fact that Jamal Adams may be returning to a Seahawks uniform. All right. Hey, What the Puck? What is going on By the way, I wish the Cougars had a softball team. It'd be really cool. I love watching softball. What is going on with the UW softball team? Anybody have an answer? How they've got like, is it 6 or 7 players hit the portal already? Like, damn, they're the whole team's in it. And I read the comments from Tar, like they don't have like any of their top hitters coming back. They don't have any pitchers that have ever pitched in college that are on the roster. What's going on? And there's something more to it than just these kids winning the portal. And I think we're all smart enough to understand that, right? Something's going on. Like, what is it? Is she taking a new job? Is that what they've gotten wind of? That she's leaving to take a new job someplace? So, hey, you guys all jump in the portal, and then I'm going to jump in the portal, and then wherever I land, you guys are going to come with me. But this just seems off. You don't see this when a coach is fired. You don't see this for this sport. I'm talking about for softball. You don't see this many kids jump in the portal. Because I think there's an example, is it Mississippi State or Ole Miss or something, that fired their coach and like 3 players in the portal. And she's got damn near almost her whole team in the portal now. So something, and no one is saying anything. Everyone's being quiet. Players aren't really saying anything. So I think it's probably one or two things. One, she's entertaining an offer someplace else, and then we'll take the job. Or, I don't know, first thing I thought of was some type of level of abuse. I mean, isn't that where everyone's kind of mind goes? Like, is it verbal abuse? Not physical abuse, but like just tired of her. I've never heard anything bad about Heather Tarr. The most successful coach they have over there, and has been for a very long time. So when you have that much success and no one has ever come out and said anything bad about the program, at least to my knowledge, that there always seems to be something else there. And I think with this story, there clearly is something else there. Potentially moving on to our next story. Hey, what the puck? Potentially sad night in the NBA. You ask why? Why is it a sad night there in the NBA? Well, if the Mavs end up closing out Minnesota, and the series is over and they win the Western Conference Finals and they go on to play Boston, that means it's the end of inside the NBA, at least for this year. Technically, they're back on for one more year, and then the new TV deal will start in 25 and 26. But it would be the last show tonight for inside the NBA, and then everything that is going on with that whole mess of a situation where TNT and Turner have lost out on the NBA for the future, and basically just seems like they were asleep at the wheel. If you read and listen to Charles Barkley, that they were caught off guard, and they got the NBA taken out from underneath them. And Barkley's been frustrated about it. He's been the one that's been the most vocal about it. I don't think the other guys have said anything. I'm not sure Shaq has said anything. Ernie's not going to say anything, or even Kenny, but Barkley is, and Barkley's talking to a lot of people. Dan Patrick, he went on the Sports Illustrated podcast this week as well, and seeming to blame. I think his name's Savala, David Savala. I think, or Zaza or something. Whoever the main guy in charge. I mean, you got to be a real idiot to F up that show. A real idiot, and it looks like they did. And they will be if they want to keep that show together, as we said, a week or so ago when we talked about the story, they want to keep that show together. That is going to be the hottest show that money can buy, because everyone's going to come after them. NBC will do it. ESPN, no doubt, will try to do everything they can to get it. And then Amazon. My betting favorite right now, if they stay together, will be Amazon, which will be the streaming partner there for the NBA. All right, finally, playoffs continue tonight for the Ballard Little League. It's technically the round robin. We're doing a bunch of round robin games to determine seeding, but it continues tonight. Fischer Plumbing back on the mound tonight. Full squad. Will the plunger come out? Squad has struggled since the plunger did break. Just the top part of it broke, but we really have been inconsistent since that happened. There was a lot of strength and power in the Golden Plunger. But we'll see what the boys can do tonight, facing the vaunted Limbeck Lumber. And then it's off to face, what's the team from Northwest? I can't remember their sponsor name. Oh, Wingdome. which is a great sponsor, by the way. I mean, Fischer Plumbing's awesome, but imagine being sponsored by Wingdome. That would be awesome, especially post-game parties at Wingdome. You can't really do a post-game party at Fischer Plumbing, right? I mean, what are we going to do? Sit around and like plumb people's houses, I guess? But so 2 more, and then we get into the playoffs technically next week. But we'll update you tomorrow. How did the boys do against the vaunted Lindback team tonight with Fischer Plumbing, Ballard Little League taking over the action here tonight? Hopefully there are no issues there on Game Changer. I coach, so I don't have to worry about Game Changer. But Godspeed to all of you parents that have to deal with Game Changer. All right, that's Hey What the Puck here on another edition here on a Thursday Daily Puck Drop, episode 126. Again, coming up later, we'll release our episodes, our podcast with Mike Garafolo from the NFL Network and also Rob Staten from SeahawksDraftBlog.com. Always appreciate you listening. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. As always, we promise to be better.
Shirt, no shoes, no ties.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!